If you're talking about mental health care, you are one of the best people to talk about it.
I was 14 when I realized I was depressed. My brain is different. My brain.
ADHD people get fixated by ADHD because finally they have answers to questions that nobody was answering for them.
You know how parents make their children eat vegetables by giving them pav bhaji? It's like that. You have to make your own pav bhaji.
I have started appreciate my ADHD a lot. There are all the signs of ADHD where I have such severe ADHD that one conversation with a doctor or a therapist or a psychiatrist would have told them this girl has ADHD. When people are watching the podcast, they would just go like, "Oh my god, I relate to this. I do this, and maybe it'll help some of them understand." Could be neurodivergent. And coming on to something a lot more personal, Sonia. Um, I know you lost your father recently, right?
What grief does is it will break your brain completely. It does not exist. You are not the same person anymore. You are a different person.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Feel Fuzzy podcast. For this episode, we have Sonia with us. I'm super excited to have her on the podcast. So, for people who are new here, Feel Fuzzy is a mental health care platform that's making mental health care inclusive, accessible, affordable. We have a bunch of queer affirmative therapists from diverse backgrounds, and we do a podcast series to sort of give you more resources and tools. So, Sonia, welcome. A lot of you know her from the internet. She's been around for a very long time, and you may have seen her in a lot of BuzzFeed videos when she was working there a few years ago. A lot of you must have seen her work, her articles, etc. So, a lot of you know her. But for those of you who don't know her, here's her introduction in her words. Sonia Thomas is a creative director by the day and a fun person the rest of the time. When she's not working, she's busy enjoying her life, being an actual person with her cat, her mom, and her never ending watch list and bookshelf. She enjoys spending time thinking about the world and how much simpler it would be if we led with empathy. And after 10 years of therapy, she realized it's probably not her job to tell everyone that. Hi, Sonia. I love your bio because as someone who's known you and followed you and met you and been friends with you for so many years, I can really tell it to the people that you are one of the most kindest, loving, most understanding, one of the most empathetic people I've ever met in my life. And if
Thanks.
we
I'm
were doing,
feeling shy.
it's okay. It's my job to make you feel shy and loved. It's fine.
Thanks.
Um, and I'm glad I can share you with the world and show you what kind of person you are. I think if you're talking about mental health care, you are one of the best people to talk about it. Just because you come from a lot of place of empathy when talking to others about their mental health care. Like you've been a listening ear to me and like lots of your friends
Hmm.
over the years also, and I feel like you come from a very special place in your heart. So Sonia, to start with, I want to know like mental health, like what is it to you? When did it become a thing? When did you think about it? When's the first time you realized, yeah, mental health is something that we need to talk about?
I was 14 when I realized I was depressed. And my whole thing was, oh, okay, my brain is a separate part of my self. And I have to take care of it differently. And I didn't know how to explain that. I didn't know it was a mental health thing. I didn't know it was anything. I just knew I felt differently than others did. The only thing that I could really tell or do at that time was, how do I know I'm depressed? Just Googling that. And there was like one very basic 10, 15 question kind of test. And it was like, okay, if you've checked off X number of symptoms out of these many, then you are definitely depressed. And what had happened was that by the end of that test, if there were say like 10 or 15 symptoms on that list, I have ticked off like 10. And I was 14 years old. So for a 14-year-old person to get this thing of like, okay, you are severely depressed and need help, I was like, oh, what does that help look like? And I figured it would be a psychiatrist, or it would be like the way I was told uh, care for depression looked like was medication, and I was too young and too afraid to like tell people that I'm depressed. I just remember I started journaling around then, and I didn't know it was called journaling. I was just like, if I write my feelings down in the diary, I feel like I'm talking to someone, and there is an outlet because I wasn't in a place where I could, um I wouldn't say it was because of my friends or the people that they were. It wasn't on them, it was on me. I just didn't feel like I could trust my friends then to understand how I'm feeling. It is only by the time I was, say, 16, 17, when, you're slightly like, you're almost like at the edge of your teens. You're like, okay, everyone's kind of starting to talk about it, and then you're like, oh, I've felt the same way. So then you find certain people that you can talk to, and you're like, oh, actually, I've been feeling this way for a while. And they're like, oh, yeah, so have I. And they're like, okay, there is something wrong with us, right? And there's just that mutual understanding of like, okay, we're clearly not like on the same page as a lot of other people. So that's how it started for me. I didn't seek therapy till I was, of course, making my own money, which was only by the time I was 22, 23. Um, and yeah, I am going to turn 32, and it will be 10 years in May 2025 since I started therapy.
Wow,
So
I mean,
yeah,
that's amazing. 10-year
yeah,
journey. And I was just thinking about that one point that you were saying, which is you wouldn't start therapy until you got your own paycheck, is
yeah,
because for a lot of people, therapy can be inaccessible.
yeah,
So if you're watching this podcast and you cannot afford therapy or you cannot afford the full price of therapy, we have a form on our website where you can apply for sliding scale sessions and pro bono sessions completely free. So please apply and we'll try and match you with a therapist. Just wanted to put it out there in case someone truly needs therapy and can't afford it at all. So we're doing this to reach out more people. I really want to make mental health care accessible to everyone, no matter
yeah.
how
Could have used that for my first therapist, who was excellent,
yeah.
but also so expensive that I was just like, okay, I cannot afford seeing her more than once a month.
That is true. A lot of our therapists offer sliding scale, and a lot of them have volunteered to give us pro bono sessions, certain limited sessions. And what we're trying to do is a lot of people who really need it,
Yeah,
we give them like a major chunk off of the fee and free sessions as well. So Sonia, you were talking about how mental health is something that you've been struggling with since the time you've been 15 years old. Now you're almost 30 or 30, 31, right? Like it's been a 15-year journey for you. Um, how has that chart been for you? Like, because I know there's different things that happen in our life, and we grow up and we start dating or we start a job or other circumstances come in life, and that mental health also is fluid, right? It's not like it's always great or it's always bad. It kind of moves with the graph. How has that 15-year journey been like that for you?
so it started with like unchecked ADHD that presented as depression. Then once I was diagnosed, it was general anxiety and depression. Um, and even when I did start medication, which was only 4, 5 years after therapy, where I reached a point where it was like, oh, I need the additional help. That's when I was like, okay, fine, let's go with this. Let's start medication because I need the additional help besides therapy. So that's when, even then, I was on antidepressants and anti-anxiety medication largely. And even then, even though the depressive symptoms reduced and the anxiety was being managed on a day-to-day basis, I still felt like something was off. Like that same sense of alienation that had been there since I was a child, that stayed. So that didn't go anywhere. What happened then was my friends started getting diagnosed with ADHD one by one, where it was like, wait a second, what you're saying is a symptom is not a personality quirk. Like, it's not it's not normal to be someone who has just only worked at the last minute. It's not normal to be like has a lot of potential, can do better in her report cards, even though like I get great marks by studying at the last minute again, or like it's not impulse shopping or like hyperfixations or all of it was suddenly making sense and realizing that it's not just my personality. This is a disorder. My brain is different. My brain is completely different. My brain is not wired the same way only. That realization was just like, okay, maybe I need to get this tested. So I got it tested and I did a basic diagnostic test and turned out I do have ADHD. And I was like, oh, this is a relief. Because suddenly everything in my life made sense. I remember, shout out to How to ADHD. She makes some of the most comprehensive videos on YouTube. She's this tiny white girl on YouTube who has been making videos about ADHD and living with ADHD and functioning around it for years. And her videos, I remember sitting up and watching, like it reached a point where ADHD became my hyperfixation. Because there's so much anger, right? And I remember watching one of the videos at like 4, 5 a.m. in the morning, and there was this one point in one of her videos that she said, which really struck me, which was like, there's also anger of how many years of just not being seen for who you are is is so like it's so real because you're like I could have been a different person. I could have done this. I could have done that. And that is also like an ADHD like line of thinking, right? Which is like, oh, I could have done this better because there's that rejection dysphoria and the whole like perfectionist. That's the thing. It's with ADHD. It's not even like we're perfectionists. Like we do everything perfectly. We don't. We actually suck at a lot of things. But there's so many things that we just don't do because we're so afraid of being imperfect or being found out for being imperfect, right? Everything. And what she said, just like I was just sobbing at 5 in the morning because I genuinely, in those moments, I was like, oh my God, someone finally understands what it's like to be in my head. Because even my friends who got detected, like, they are the kind of ADHD folks who luckily are like, wow, my hyperfixation is cleaning. I need to clean everything so that, my brain is occupied. And I just have not been that person. My cupboard has been a mess for 2 years and it continues to be. I know if I fix it and if I get a friend to help me out with it, it will be fine. But it will go back to its current state very soon, right? Like it will need organization that only I understand.
A lot of what you say is, I was just doing this the whole time you were speaking because I could relate to everything that you were saying. I think when you grow up with ADHD and you don't get the right diagnosis or right support at the right time, we internalize a lot of shame because we grow up like really bright and talented, and all the teachers are like, oh, gets great marks and she's really good at this and they're really good at this. But and then you do it last minute, right? Like my entire life I have studied, like including board exams, like hours before, like a day before the exam.
My favorite story from my boards is that I was failing economics. I was literally failing that subject. And I got 95 in the board exam because in the literal last 2 weeks before that exam, my mom forced me to go to my economics teacher and she made me do past papers and she explained concepts that I didn't understand. And literally, I was studying nothing else in those 2 weeks because luckily we had like that 2 week gap or something. There was some gap that allowed me time to sit and actually focus on economics. And I understood the subject. I did well. And then I understood economics so well that when I came to college, I actually developed an interest for the subject. One of my first jobs was business journalism because I just developed a love for economics, and that that is my favorite board exam story.
I have a similar story. Like I was failing my physics and I got like an 8 in my pre-boards. God, it's public news now. And my physics teacher sat down with my father and he said, she's one of the brightest students I've had in my life. Every time I'm speaking to her or talking to her about something, she understands the concepts clearly. Like there is absolutely no idea why she's gotten an 8. And I'm not gonna stop her from giving exams because I think she can do well. So I was like the only person who was failing that they didn't stop from giving exams or whatever. And during exams, I spent like probably 2 days studying for it. And I got one of the highest marks in school, which was around 88, 90, because at that point it was the most difficult physics paper set in the last 15, 20 years. Like it was in the newspapers, people in my class were bawling and crying. And I was laughing when I sat down to do the paper. I realized that the paper is so difficult that everybody is on the same page now. Like, because it didn't matter if you study like 6 for it. And there were literal people in my classroom having a breakdown. They were crying that there were teachers handing out toffees. There were centers who gave 15 minutes extra. Like it was a whole thing that year in news. And I was just like, 2 days for it. We are all on the same page. I had relaxed. I was like, let me just do this. I came home. My parents sat me down. They said, we know you're failing because by the time I reached home, I didn't have a mobile phone. They had turned on the news and the news people were saying, Ki, abhi to gaise bro. So they were prepared that I'm going to fail. And I said, no, I actually did a great exam. And they said, you're just fucking around with us because we know toppers who are crying. There is no way that you are not failing. I said, okay, there's a for every mark I get over passing, you give me like 200 rupees or something like that. He had to end up, my dad had to end up paying me 10 grand, by the way, for it. These are the kind of stories that ADHD people have, right? Like, oh, bright potential, this, and then you keep hearing, oh, but they have not unlocked their potential, oh, they're not doing. Because the executive dysfunction that we didn't know that we had was so bad that the shame, like, oh my God, everybody has such high expectations. Oh my God, I know I'm intelligent. I know I'm bright. Oh, I've gotten this brilliant opportunity. I need to make something of it. Oh, you know what? This job will be great for me. I just need to sit down and make a resume and apply. Oh, this person, I just need to send one email. That's it. Just one email. Just, that's it. It'll take 2 minutes. But we will not do it for days and weeks and months. And then you keep hearing back, you're wasting your life. You're wasting your potential. That was an opportunity to let it go. When I was in Bombay, my parents were like, you spent so many years in Bombay, you had so many great opportunities. Why didn't you do more with it? And it was only in the last few years when I did a deeper dive into ADHD. Like I said, ADHD people get fixated by ADHD because finally they have answers to questions that nobody was answering for them. And when I got on medication, it kind of started helping a bit, but I was on and off it because the ADHD meds weren't suiting me. It used to give me migraine and all. And then finally my doctor gave me a new medication. She said this is the strongest one out there because you have severe debilitating ADHD. So just be careful. I'm putting you on it. I'm putting you on a low dosage, but just sort of be careful and keep me updated. Just take it regularly every day and see the impact. Sonia, I took it for 3 months regularly, and genuinely, the absolute livid I was, the absolute anger, frustration, sobbing, tears that I cried to my husband every day was, is this how my life was supposed to go? Is this how I was supposed to feel? Like, is this how normal people feel? Is this how like a normal brain functions?
Yeah, literally. That's what a normal day looks like for other people. I cannot relate. I absolutely cannot relate. How does that work? And I've not been on medication because I've been prescribed medication, and because like my anti-anxiety and anti-depression medication was messing with my hormones, I didn't get on the ADHD medication. But one of my fears of getting on ADHD medication is I'm going to spend so much time being angry at how my life could have gone.
See, medication obviously is not for everyone, and if you're watching it, please talk to your consider all of the effects, all of the side effects, everything before you take it. For me personally, the benefits like million times outweighed the side effects or the negative effects of it. Because for the first time in my life, I felt like a normal human being. Like I built feel fuzzy in 2 months because I was just sitting up in the morning, walking and getting up at 10 p.m., realizing, oh, it's 10. I didn't know because I could focus and actually work, and that feeling was telling Dhruv that, you know what, if I would have, started this many years ago, or if I'd gotten diagnosed in school or college, or when I started a job, I would have been a CEO by now. I'm not joking. And he said, but you are now, so it's okay, just let it go.
I keep telling my psychiatrist, I'm like, I'm so scared of starting that medication because I don't know what the side effects are going to be. And she's like, you take your time. And like, and that's what also a good doctor, like a good psychiatrist, will never force medication unless genuinely your life is at stake, or like genuinely you're in a debilitating position where you have no choice. A good doctor will not force you to start medication before you are ready.
Yeah, and they would listen to you. If you're telling them it doesn't work or something, they're not going to be like, oh, I know better. No, they will listen to you. That's a sign of a good mental health professional, that they're willing to admit, okay, my approach might not be working. Let's hear them out.
Exactly. A lot of that has been like my journey with my therapist also. Like I remember uh 2 months ago I had an argument with my therapist. She was like not sure how to approach it because she was trying to suggest something to me. Like she was suggesting I take a step back from what I was feeling, or like just like observe, or try to like she was trying to like do an exercise to like bring me down from how I was feeling because I was just like going through a lot of extreme emotions. And her and my response was, I am finally getting space to feel all these feelings. Can you not do this to me right now? And she was just very shaken because she was like, okay, let's just let you feel this. We don't have to do much in the session then. It's fine. Then I took a break for like a month because that was such a heavy session that, let's be real, when it comes to mental health, it is like physical health, right? Like if you keep going to the gym, your muscles get sore and rest days are important. It's the same with working on your mental health. You are constantly working on yourself, you're constantly working on your brain starts to hurt a little. And I realized this with an old therapist of mine who was like, do you want to just take a break? And I was like, no, what do you mean? I have to keep working on my brain because if I don't keep working on my brain, it'll not stop. And she was like, you probably need to stop a little bit. So then I went back, like after that break, and my therapist was like, oh, I thought you wouldn't return because, we'd had like such a rough session. And I was like, no, but that's kind of what it is, right? Sometimes you have to change your approach based on how I'm feeling, based on what the situation is. When my dad was unwell, we just shifted to having ad hoc sessions whenever I had the time instead of having a structure. We did that then. Why isn't this the same thing? I was like, just because there's conflict in a situation doesn't mean we have to run away from it. It just means that we need to change our approach. And the fact that she understood that and did change her approach, where after that, if she feels like she's trying to push me to do something and I'm resisting, she's like, I sense resistance. I sense that you don't want to do something I'm suggesting right now. I'm like, yeah, I kind of just want to talk right now. Can we not like I want to feel how I'm feeling right now. I don't want to come down from it, or I don't want to like be told to have a breathing exercise right now. I can do that later. And she was like, okay, cool. So then that also changed how she approached me with her solutions. That is what being comfortable with a therapist looks like. And I think that also has been a huge part of my mental health journey, where it's like understanding my symptoms have not only made me much nicer to myself, which then makes me a little more functional than I used to be, but also like it makes me a little more honest. Okay, so one symptom of ADHD is masking, right? Now, for those who don't know, masking is basically like with ADHD people, we have to be present in situations even when we don't want to be. We get overwhelmed and overstimulated very easily. And the only way to then handle that is to lie to ourselves and to the world around us. Where it's like, I am in a shitty situation, I am overwhelmed, I am overstimulated, I don't want to be here, but I will do this and I will manage till I go home and I can do this. I noticed this difference yesterday in my photos from like 2018 pre-diagnosis to like the last 3, 4 years, and I see the difference even in how I smile. It's real. It's just a diagnosis. I'm not even on medication yet. Just managing my symptoms and just understanding and taking in every bit of information. Yeah. So, of course, there are still situations where I'm doing this, and I'm like, I completely understand what you're saying. I do not understand anything you're saying, and this will have to be processed in a completely different manner. But I will get back to you. And then going home and doing this. Every day, some new revelation happens where I'm like, oh, my ADHD is the problem. And it's so funny because, like, there's that meme where someone was saying something about their ADHD, and someone's joke was like, oh my God, you guys can't even do anything. And I'm like, you know what? Real. That's exactly how I feel like, oh my God, you can't even do anything.
I just feel like if people around us knew about this more, which is why it's so important to have these conversations, there's like a built-in empathy that will come with it. Like now I talk so openly about it. I've told like my parents, my husband, my sister, the internet, everybody knows. And so I tell oh, this is because of my ADHD now. So they started anticipating it. The other day I was fighting with my sister about something. I was having some argument, and she sent me a reel, okay, and some article that basically talked about that since people with ADHD have like lesser dopamine, serotonin, etc. in their brain, they sometimes to look for a reason to have an argument because that increases serotonin or dopamine in their brains. And she said, you're arguing with me for no reason because your ADHD is making you, because you're depleted in whatever serotonin, dopamine it is. So I'm just telling you, be aware that this is why you're doing it. And I was just like, wow, okay, we need to talk about this more. They can give us a sense check that sometimes we don't realize what we're doing could be happening something, that we don't want to maybe do. And it's us also because we can also now know, oh, okay, oh, this is happening because my brain is wired differently. I am now self aware. Maybe sometimes I can check myself and stop myself from doing it. I can't be 100% successful at all times, but then no. Like my husband, he'll tell me if I'm doing something like that, I'm like, just leave me alone, just please, just. And he'll be like, Mama, you are overstimulated right now. It's okay. I'm not going to talk to you for the next 2 hours. Read your book. Go. Sit quietly in a corner. And those are the things that when we talk about this to people, to our loved ones, to our people around us, and hopefully in workplaces, in some utopia in India, at some point, these are the kind of things that can become normalized and the empathy increases. And we both take responsibility, like our loved ones and us personally. We change it, we can impact others.
A lot of it is just like explaining to my mom that, hey, this is just like I come back overstimulated and I don't want to talk about things, and sometimes I just want to be left alone. Or I am so overstimulated that I need to talk about everything and you have to listen to me. And if you're not looking at me when I'm talking to you, I am going to be offended by it. Like it's it's either extreme, and that is just ADHD. Like that's the thing. I start seeing the patterns even in like, because ADHD can be genetic. I start seeing the patterns even in like my dad's behavior. I was like, oh, my dad had severe time blindness, or oh, my dad was constantly seen as someone with potential, but it would always be like, but his marks are just like okay, but extremely intelligent. And then I'm like, what if my dad had ADHD? And I told him that when, like, after I got diagnosed, I'm like, I think you have ADHD. And he was like, I don't, but whatever, do what you want.
A lot of them think that these are made up terms and that they never had it. While if they genuinely looked back and some of them reflected, they would realize that they was just doing all of those things and people used to think they're quirky or weird or eccentric or doing things in a certain way while they had autism or ADHD or whatever. It's just they thought that way. And it's not new. This is like you guys are talking about it.
Dude, that's the thing, right? Like, my mom had students with ADHD in her class, and they were the hyperactive sort. So she'd be like so hyperactive, yet so intelligent. And I had to explain to her, like, that's the thing though. ADHD, because like the tendency to hyperfixate is so high, they tend to like get absorbed sometimes by what they're learning and they pick it up really fast, like because their brains are moving much faster. And I was like, intelligence is actually like one of the positives of ADHD. Like you will see a lot of people with on the autism ADHD spectrum who are extremely intelligent. And I was like, it's not ADHD yet intelligent, it's ADHD and extremely intelligent because it's coming with the ADHD. It's not happening despite or yeah.
Because you keep hearing throughout your childhood in school, college, whatever, in jobs also. Oh, this one, she's really bright. Oh, she has so much potential. And then because uh, we kind of stop ourselves from achieving that potential, that's where the shame comes in, because you're made to think there's something with you. And the diagnosis of understanding ADHD changes that, because a lot of shame goes away when you realize it's not me, it's just ADHD. Like, that's like my brain works differently.
Yeah, and you then automatically develop systems in your life. As a child, my dad tried so hard to get me to stick to a schedule. Refused. Cannot handle it, cannot do it. I now have a habit tracker which works exactly only for me. And these are like my non-negotiable 10 things I have to do every day. One of those things includes having a shower, which meant there was a week where I had a shower all days, which was a huge success for me as an adult. And that's the thing, right? And people are so shocked to hear that. They're like, what do you mean having a shower every day was a success? I was like, do you understand what point of life you have to reach where you have to tell yourself shower is a non-negotiable so that you can game yourself into doing this? No jokes. The tracker's right here. I did this thing where one day I got like a 10 out of 10 score. So I gave myself like a little gold star, like a little star, like children, like children. I've had to give myself a star.
I'm not even slightly surprised. I'm not even slightly surprised.
This is the only way I could game myself into getting that 10 out of 10. After that, I've had shit days where it's been like a 5 out of 10 or a 4 out of 10. But even those days, I don't feel bad about, why? Because those are days where, say, maybe I have gone out to meet a friend or I have, used that time that I would have used doing the things that were on that list to maybe do something else that was just making me happy. Or maybe I didn't have energy that day. And that's what understanding my symptoms did because it just put me in a place where I was like, oh, I don't have to feel bad about this. I didn't get a 10 out of 10. That's normal. Uh, and 8 out of 10 is great. This week was a little slow, probably because of hormones, probably because I am PMSing, probably because I'm on my period. Like, that, like understanding, making notes, working like a scientist is insane. You know how parents make their children eat vegetables by giving them pav bhaji? Like, oh, you dislike this vegetable, I'm putting it in pav bhaji. They do not come to know. It's like that. You have to make your own pav bhaji of like ridiculous systems and making notes and behaving like a crazed maniac with 5 journals to track things, but it works. It's working, it's keeping me happy, it's ensuring that I am staying alive. At this point, it's a matter of not just survival, it's a matter of like being able to thrive. And that is what will keep us healthy. Survival mode is not healthy.
The weirdest thing about it is that we do really well when we sort of have a more regular routine. At the same time, we get really pissed off that what do you mean we have to stick to this routine? So, so it's annoying to be both. But like for you, if you do a week of like you do everything right and you've done all of the things you want to do, you'll be like, oh, I feel great. And then the next week, you'll be like, Pizzo, what do you mean I have to do this? I have to do this. I have to do this. And that sticking to a routine angers us. But it's benefit.
thing, right? When someone says, "Oh, routine works for people with ADHD," I'm like, no, routine is a certain routine will work for a certain amount of time. After 2 weeks of following this routine, I might have to switch it up again. A lot of people with ADHD work better when they are self-employed or running their own businesses. Huge reason for their happiness is because they realize they can decide their routine, right? It's not just routine, it's deciding, it's knowing that you have the freedom to decide your. But at the same time, freelancing also like puts a lot of like other like very obvious pressures that then, don't make it easy to survive in that ecosystem. That's the problem. And even with this system, like the non-negotiable tasks that I do, I keep changing that list every 2 weeks because if I don't do that, I will not follow the system. So every 2 weeks, I sit and evaluate like what can I change, what can I shift, what can I remove.
I have done so many things now to force myself to stick to a routine. Okay, so I have a Google Home, right? I have now automated it completely. So it will play music and turn on my bedroom light at a certain point every day. It will turn off all the lights and start playing rain music at a certain time in the night. In the evening, when I am sometimes, you know, ADHD paralysis, it will automatically before sunset turn on the light at a sort. So I am literally using technology to do some of the things for me. So it's not overwhelming that I have to now get up and turn on the light and do something to wake me up or do something to sleep or whatever. I am I because when you were speaking, I was like, yeah, every ADHD person has their own system of things that they do. And you were talking about you have an activity tracker for to check if you're showering every day. I put everything in my calendar that has like a ting sound that goes off. That includes literally 10 a.m. Take your medication, brush your teeth. I'm not joking. That's on my calendar.
I have alarms for breakfast, lunch, dinner. And I have alarms for looking out of the window at 4:15. I keep changing the alarm tones because I was realizing that after a couple months I was desensitized to the sound to the point where I was ignoring the alarm. Now I immediately every quarter I change the alarm sound. So currently my phone just barks. Not kidding, my phone barks at meal time, which is which is shocking to my colleagues when I'm in office, like when I'm working out of my office, they're like, "What is barking?" And the first day that the thing barked, I was like, "यार ये कुत्ते की आवाज़ है." Just sitting there. Guys, ये कहाँ से आया? Watching a dog. Yeah, no, it's really loud. Can you also hear it? And I was like, oh, wait, guys, sorry. I forgot that I no, I forgot that I had set an alarm for lunchtime and that all my mealtime alarms are now just a dog barking because I thought it's funny. At the time of setting the alarm, I was like, oh, this is hilarious. Mealtime equal कुत्ते जैसी भूख लगी है equals कुत्ता barking. Ha 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 ha. We should be giving props that we are doing all of this to do normal human things. People with ADHD are so incredibly creative because they have to game themselves. A lot of making my mom eat protein, for example, is just me following my routine. And I'm like, hey, I know you don't like eating vegetables and you don't like eating salad. What if I put it in raita and gave it to you? Because I know that that's how I used to do it. Yeah, I'm like, hey, maybe I can game the system for you. So you end up being creative with other people and in different situations. It's why people with ADHD often are great educators, therapists, or any job that requires like creativity or dealing with creative solutions, great. People with ADHD will ace it because they know exactly how to tackle that. Yeah, I feel like we are great leaders also. We try, I mean, as long as we have the freedom to run our team the way we want to, we genuinely thrive. We love helping out people. We have more empathy because we have our own struggles and we are more empathetic. I have started to appreciate my ADHD a lot more. I think it has given me a lot of amazing things, and I'm just starting to learn to forgive myself for all the times I hated myself for it because I just didn't have the support.
either medication or therapy or a family who understands, you're actually able to use the both side of ADHD to do well. I mean, it's taken more seriously in boys. Like when they're hyperactive or whatever, it manifests differently in them.
Yeah.
Parents will go to a doctor, they'll tell them, hey, take him for a diagnosis, see if he has ADHD, because they understand that. When it comes to girls, it's a lot different. And we, like women and girls, we get diagnosed, whatever, much, much, much later than men or boys.
Yeah, I've seen Reddit boards where women have been diagnosed with ADHD in their 40s and 50s. Absolutely insane. Yeah.
There were all the signs of ADHD were, I have such severe ADHD that one conversation with a doctor or a therapist or a psychiatrist would have told them this girl has ADHD. But they did not
Hmm.
know what ADHD was or how it manifests in girls.
Yeah, I think our therapists are also better equipped. Yeah, is it really depression and anxiety, or like when we go deeper, we can see something else there, right? And that's how a lot of people with a lot of disorders end up getting diagnosed with. Like a good therapist, yeah, a good therapist will not diagnose you in your first few sessions. A good therapist will not have a diagnosis. They'll be like, I don't know. And that's what a good therapist will do.
Coming on to something a lot more personal, Sonia, um, I know you lost your father recently, right? And that has been obviously one of the most incredibly difficult things anybody in this world could go through. No, I've known you for so long, I've followed you for so long, have seen your stories with your father, with your mom, and I just see that kind of rapport that you've always had with them, really fun, very friendly, very, like they just get you, which is not very common amongst Indian parents. And that has been incredibly hard for you, losing your father. Um, I know it has had a serious impact on your mental health. Uh, do you want to walk us through how it was like, even like knowing that you might lose him and then losing him, like both the anticipation and then actually going through something so hard? How, what was that impact like for you?
So it's a bunch of things, right? It was like you said, it's the anticipation, it is the actual process, and then there is after effects of grief, right? Like, I think everyone tends to look at grief as that stages of grief, so they assume it's a cycle that eventually ends, but it's a cycle that keeps perpetuating in different ways with every aspect of grief just unlocking itself every time. Um, and the only thing that really kind of makes it better is if, and this is not something that works for everyone, I've realized it's just me. One is having a sense of humor about it. I make a lot of jokes, and that is how I cope. And my friends are also like at one point, my friends were just like, please, like, I don't know if I should laugh. I was like, okay, can I laugh then? They're like, okay, continue, you are coping. And the second is to just to continue to pursue joy despite grief. Um, because what grief does is it will break your brain completely. It does not exist. You are not the same person anymore. You are a different person. I am not the same person I was 2 years ago. I never will be. That person is gone, right? Um, and I had read this lovely, lovely book of poems. Um, so great suggestion if someone who's watching this likes poems. It's a book called Obit, as in like short for obituary, Obit by Victoria Chang. It's a book of poems where she wrote eulogies to a bunch of things. So from like a eulogy to my father's memory, or a eulogy to this quote, or a eulogy to this plant, or this particular light bulb, or whatever, whatever, to multiple things because she refused to give an elegy at her mother's funeral. She was like, I refuse to speak at my mother's funeral, but she didn't know how else to talk about it. So, because so many things just die when someone else passes, that you're like, what do I say at a funeral then? So one of the things she wrote was a eulogy to Victoria Chang, like died so and so date, and it's the date of her mother's diagnosis, like the day that her mom was diagnosed. So there are multiple ways that you also change and completely transform. There's the day of the diagnosis, there's the day that you realize things are going south, then there's the day of the actual, passing. There's the day of the funeral. Then there's one particular day when you realize, oh, I can't call this person, or oh, I can't, like, this person is not gone, they are gone. Like, or looking at uh, pictures of a funeral, which I've never understood why people do. I've never understood why people document funerals. It is bizarre to me. Um, because who wants to remember that? Why would you want to take pictures? Why would you want to have pictures of such moments? But then you see pictures and you're like, oh, that's what I was looking like that day. Like, you don't remember these moments. Grief does a lot. Like, so that is like the number one thing. Like, if you try to work with the system that old you or the person before this happened, if you try to address your life through that lens, you will not be able to function going forward, or you'll be much harder on yourself going forward because you're not the same person anymore. Um, so, if you try to seek joy in the same things that made you happy before, a lot of things will feel really, really sad because there are things like watching movies. I used to do that a lot with my dad. So watching movies in the same way got really hard. Like there are a lot of types of movies that I couldn't watch for a while. Like I, courtroom dramas make me sad. Thrillers make me sad because I'm like, oh, my dad would have liked watching this. So what I did was I just made a list of like films and series my dad would have liked. And then I just make a list of that on Letterboxd. So every time I watch something I think he'd like, I just add it to that list. And I'm like, oh, he would have liked this, adding it to list. Or even if it's not a mystery or a thriller, like if it's just a movie he would have liked, I just add it to that list because he also loved cinema. I can't watch cricket anymore because it's not fun for me. The one person I enjoyed discussing cricket with is not there. I don't want to watch this anymore. I don't watch it anymore. And maybe that relationship will change with the game because I might find someone to discuss the game with and it will be fun again. But till I find that community, that's not fun for me anymore. So I look for other things that make me happy. That's what it was. And more than anything, it's just that knowing that uh, my dad would be really upset if we were upset. So just knowing that I can't stay upset is just more motivation to pursue joy. And I know like my other members in my family are not processing it the same way, so I'm not going to expect them to have a sense of humor and do the same things I'm doing. This is how I'm coping, and I'm not going to expect anyone else to do that.
Incredibly inspiring and amazing lessons to take away from this conversation is the grief of losing someone, and then in the days, weeks, months, years, literally coping with it, and then the certain things that make you sad because they are associated with that person, but in spite of that, pursuing joy, pursuing those things that they would have liked, because you're kind of in a way honoring their memory because you're still keeping those special moments. Like, yeah, it would have been, they would have been here, but it still kind of honors them in a way that uh, you that you watch together, and it doesn't have to work for everything. So if watching cricket is not something that you are that you like anymore because it's not for them, it's okay. Like there's still things that you bring into your life that you would have been like, okay, yeah, your dad would have really liked it, but I'm gonna smile now.
Yeah, like there's a major India-Pakistan match happening today. The Champions Trophy is going on. I cannot be bothered. I cannot be bothered because I was like, I can't watch this without him. It's not fun for me. So that is cancelled. We will not be doing that. But at the same time, I can't like, and another very important thing is that the person is gone, you are not. There is still like a person here who needs to be taken care of, right? Like, can you take care of yourself at some point, right? Grief is already really hard. Why do you want to add like medical bills to it? Why do you want to make it harder for yourself? This is not to say that you have to be optimistic or like you have to push through. No, I'm not. That is not what the advice, or that is not what I've understood of it. It is that I I need to function, so I will, but I'm not going to be like hard on myself if I can't also. But the truth is that I do need to function. Someone has to, who executes the will, the paperwork, and that's the thing. With with death comes so much paperwork. It's insane how many times you have to submit that same death certificate again and again and again. You become numb to the reminder, right? This is a reminder in like actual document, government issued notice, a government issued form that someone you love is no more. And someone has to do that paperwork. So part of you has to stay functional. Even if that means during that time you have blocked everything else out, you are just pushing forward because you have to do it. But don't do it at the risk of losing your own mind or yourself, because that's not what your loved one would want. That's not what you need. There are still pockets that you have to kind of find yourself and really hold on to it like for dear life. And unfortunately, that is the work that you do have to do. Like, find something that you give a shit about. Something, anything. Even if it's just listening to music 10 minutes a day. If that makes you cry, fine, just do it. But just hold on to it for dear life. Because that's what will get you through those initial days at least. And बाकी सब फिर तो होगा ही. Then there is the, yeah, your, because your body is disintegrating. Like it really feels like a whole new person is being created after you're going through something that intense, because your gut gives up on you. So I remember when things finally settled a little bit and I was done with the paperwork and everything was seeming okay, suddenly my stomach went for a toss. And then I was like, wait, am I also like, is my health also going for a toss? Am I also dying? Like, what's happening? And I remember crying to my mom. I was like, what is happening to me? Unfortunately, a lot of my friends also lost their fathers in the same year to different issues, right? Also, women in like nearing 30 or 30 and above, who were single children, only daughters of their fathers, very close to them, etc. And I asked all of them, I said, hey guys, like, what's your gut health like? And they're like, garbage. One of my friends said, I am cycling between constipation and diarrhea constantly. And I started laughing because I was just like, oh, okay. And at that time, I also tried group therapy. Note to everyone watching this, group therapy is really, really good if you can handle it. I personally couldn't. I Not only was it like quite expensive, but also it was really, really difficult because I was in a small group, but I was also listening to six other people talking about very, very intense losses that they've gone through, and it would take a toll on me too. And I couldn't keep up after a few months, so I gave up on it. But anyway, I raised the question in group as well, and I was like, guys, what's your gut health like? And everyone was like, garbage, garbage, garbage. Like, literally, even the therapists on the call were like, because they were dealing with grief themselves and all of that. And they also were like, yeah, agreed, this happens. And then the therapist explained on the call, like, guys, if you are feeling like your gut is going for a toss, that's one of the first things that will go for a toss when you are dealing with grief, because your body literally cannot handle that much upheaval. It's not normal. You're not going through something normal. Your body also realizes that. Your body will betray you when you are grieving, and you're going to be really upset and paranoid about it. Um, those are things no one tells you. No one's telling you there's so much paperwork. No one's telling you that you're going to need X copies of something, that you're going to need to keep it in these many folders. No one's telling you that in the middle of all this, people will suddenly say some of the weirdest things. No one's preparing you for things like people saying like, "Oh, your parent would like to see you married, so you should get married." Like what? That doesn't make sense. Just stop. I am dealing with something else. Or no one's going to tell you that people are going to say like, "Oh, he should have taken care of his health," and I'm like, bro, at this point, who cares?
Because you're a single child, you're an only daughter. The loss wasn't just a loss for you, right? Like even for your mom, it was the most devastating loss of a life. And as an only child, not only did you have to think about your own mental health, your own grief, whatever, even physical manifestations that were happening because of the mental health suffering so much. You also had to kind of take care of your mom, make sure she's also okay. You're in within your own grief. You're also extremely worried about your mother, and you don't have another sibling to depend on. You're an only daughter, so you need to be there for your mom foremost, even having to put your grief aside to make sure she's okay. How was that? Like, how did you navigate that? How was that like for you and your mom?
I've never regretted not having a sibling more than I have when I was dealing with all this. Because I was just like, wow, it would have been so convenient to just dump this on an elder sibling or like to share this with a younger sibling. And I just was like, oh, this is different. For like my mom, honestly, like it was just I felt bad because not only was it losing a partner, it was also uprooting her life and having to move in the middle of all that. And she was not ready to do it initially, but I convinced her. I said, "Listen, it's two things. One, I can't see you in the situation anymore. Like you're not going to be functioning very well alone. So it would just be better if I'm around. It will be nicer. You will also feel better. Uh, Two, you have to realize that this is not just about you. If your fear is that, oh, if I stop working, like what will happen and all of that, I was like, वो सब बाद में देखो. But try to understand, I have also lost a parent along with your loss. Like both those things have happened simultaneously. I was like, I also need support. Can you come? Because I need my mom right now, right? I was like, at this point, it will help both of us. So I think that got through to her a little bit. At least that's what she says. She says that that kind of did help her understand a little bit. And also because her siblings were like, okay, no, you are not living alone. Please, you have an adult daughter. Just like, it's okay, move, it's fine. The move is still very hard for her. Like, she's like, oh, I have to do everything alone. And I'm like, no, this is an opportunity to finally, as an Indian woman, learn how to live your life independent of the men in your life. And I'm trying to like do that whole like feminist indoctrination thing. There will be days where she will just be inconsolable and she'll be like, I can't believe that this has happened and that this is just sad. I don't want to talk about it. And I'm sad and I just want to cry. Great, cry. That is my thing. I'm like, you want to cry, you cry. It's fine. Go ahead. Yeah, I'm just like, I get it. I'm like, it's fine. It is what it is. You're sad, you're sad. What to do? Happens. Like, why me though? Like, I was like, that I won't allow. Why me is not a question to ask. It's valid in that moment, but you can't keep asking yourself that. It's not going to help anyone. It would instead help to be like, I miss this person. And Instead of trying to think how you could have saved and how you could have like preempted or how you could have like seen the symptoms coming, instead of doing all of that, just be like this. Yeah, just be like this happened. Can we do better for ourselves while we are here? Right? I was like, no, you don't stop taking care of yourself. Again, I had to apply the same principles and break it down to someone else. Her style of grieving is different. She does not like the jokes. I have to admit. It's very hard to crack the jokes at home because I have to like test it with my friends and be like, ha ha ha, I thought of this thought very horrible. I can't do it at home because my mom is like, you can't make jokes about that. She's not in a place where it's funny yet. So I'm like, okay, yeah, can't make jokes, understood. Won't be doing them here. But don't tell me to not have a sense of humor because that's not fair. Yeah, I was like, it's helping me. I just won't do it in front of you. I'll be mindful of that. I know she likes watching the photos and the funeral photos and all that. मेरे से नहीं देखा जाता. And initially, I would get irritated also. I'm like, why are you watching funerals? Why are you doing this? And sometimes I still stop her because I'm like, no, now you're doing it as self-sabotage. I still do that. I'm like, no, no self-sabotage in this house. But some days, even if I can hear it, I'm like, I will allow it because today is a bad day. But otherwise, you shouldn't be doing it. Obviously, like there is more gloom around those days, right? And it makes sense. It makes like it's logic when you say it out loud. You're like, yeah, of course you're going to feel bad closer to the date of a death anniversary or or a wedding anniversary or a birthday. You are going to feel sadder closer to those days. True, true. But when you're feeling like that, in that moment, you're like, why has September been such a miserable month? I can't imagine why. And I'm like, oh, because part of my brain is like, on this day last year, here's what you were doing. On this day last year, this is what you were doing. On this day last year, this was a blood test you were taking. On this day last year, you were in this hospital. Like, or different things. On this day last year, he was admitted in the ICU. Ye wo, like it just goes on and on and on in your head, and you're not understanding it. And then, like, I had to break it down to her. I'm like, oh, you're feeling like shit because it's closer to the anniversary. And she's like, oh, that makes sense. So now, when it's closer to anniversaries, we're just like, our brains are like, yeah, like now both of us are like, huh, it's just closer to the anniversary. It makes sense. Yeah.
Because it's almost like re-traumatizing, no, in a way, because certain things are triggered, whether it's that date, whether it's a wedding or a birthday or a special occasion, immediately your brain, the trauma that you either went through or now on my birthday or on his birthday or mom's birthday or whatever.
We had a family reunion in December, and my mom just got really sad because she was like, the last time we had a family reunion, her brother also passed like a couple months after my dad passed, and it was like very back to back for her. So it was like, oh, both of these people are not here, and I'm so sad. And one of my aunts was like, you should just like it's time. You should like not feel bad about these things anymore. And I felt so bad. And both my mom and I were just like, who cares? I'm feeling sad right now. And I'm allowed to.
She wants to be sad. I mean, she's allowed to be sad. Like, what a not thing to say.
Yeah, and at the same time, my cousin, that's my uncle who passed, her daughter, her response to that sort of an emotional moment was to just walk away and be like, I can't deal with this, right? My response was, I get it. It's not like a good time. It's mixed emotions. I get it. Three completely different reactions to the same situation, right? And that's a lot of what people need to understand and just don't. It's the exact same situation. Three people are reacting very differently to it.
We need to give people space to give and deal with things in a way that uniquely makes sense for them. The way you might grieve, or the way your mom might grieve, or the way your uncle child might grieve can be completely different. You just need to respect people, their choices, and what works for them. Sort of make it slightly.
My only thing is, as long as your coping is not self-sabotage, do it. Like, don't reach the point where you are pointing guilt and shame towards yourself, or you're becoming bitter about a situation or a person because something has happened. I don't think that will help, and I don't think that should be encouraged either. I think you should be, especially if you're around people who are grieving, and if you don't know how to help them, try to spot where they're getting into self-sabotage mode. Like, again, the whole like, why me, or why this situation, or how I could have helped, or, like, I'm so angry about this situation and I don't want to talk to this person. Why are they reacting like that? I'm like, two people have dealt with the exact same situation very differently. Their losses are different. You are not going to be able to police how the other person reacts. If my cousin is reacting by withdrawing and not talking to us, that is how she's coping. We can check in, we can ask if she's doing okay, and we can walk away if she doesn't want to respond. But if it's getting into self-sabotage territory, you have to at least point it out to them so that they're aware that they're doing what they're doing. Like, even with my cousin, I was like, I noticed you're withdrawing. She's like, yeah, and like, she's Gen Z, so she's like got like a sense of humor about it, where she's like, yeah, I'm having a breakdown, and I'm like, okay, sweet, go ahead with that, but I'm just saying, like, you can also reach out. Like, I I check in because I want to, but also you are doing this. Just letting you know it's self-sabotage. Or like, hey, you are not sleeping at night and then you're telling me you're falling sick. Do you think you should sleep? Maybe? Do you think that will help? Because I know that's going into self-sabotage mode. I know what she's doing. I I can sense it as someone who cares about her. I can tell her so that she's aware. Like, hey, this is what you're doing, and that's happening because your brain is not doing well. So
My takeaway from this conversation are two things. First, everybody grieves differently. Let them do it the way they want to. And secondly, as long as their coping mechanisms does not include self-sabotage, it's fine. But if it does, as a person who cares, hold them accountable, sort of help them get away from that space where they're hurting themselves.
just because you're grieving doesn't mean you have to be an asshole to yourself or to the people around you. I've done that too. Like, I'm sure I've said stuff to my mom and she's like felt bad about it. And the other way around too. But then I'm like, oh, I feel like shit about it. I should not. Like, I snapped at my mom the other day and I was like, sorry, I was just having a really bad day and I snapped. She's like, oh, you always snap at me. I'm like, yeah, this time though, like, I kind of saw it and I didn't like that I snapped, so I'm sorry about it, you know? So sometimes you have to thoda hold yourself accountable also. Grief is hard as it is. Don't make it harder for yourself by putting yourself in horrible situations.
Thank you for sharing that journey with us. I know it's not the easiest thing to talk about, but I think that a lot of people shy away from talking about grief because they don't want to make people uncomfortable. But at the same time, it can be isolating for a lot of people going through it. So it is important to still talk about it. If people are ready to talk about it, right? If they're going through something themselves, it's fine. But we have to, start learning being more open, inviting empathy, giving empathy, all of those things.
Yeah, and sorry, just one more thing to add. Like, one of the reasons I brought up taking care of people who are grieving is because, like, I understand it's hard and it's not like a lot of people are like, I have nothing to say, so I will say nothing. Sometimes I had to like shout at some of my, not shout, but like gently scold some of my friends and be like, you didn't reach out to me after you said sorry for your loss. And I'm kind of sad about it because I didn't die. Like, I'm still alive. You could have, I wish you would have checked in. Or I wish you would have spoken to me more or given me space. Like, I understand you think that I don't want to talk about it, but the truth is right now I want to talk about it. I want to talk to my friends. So can you like do that for me? And being honest with my friends about it immediately made the difference. Like all of them, the two, three people that I had to tell that to, all of them were like, you know what, you're right. I just didn't know how to respond to that. I didn't know how to respond to the situation. I didn't know how this is supposed to be managed, so I didn't manage it. And of course, people have their own things going on now. I'm like, huh, okay, you have your own thing going on, understandable. But I felt a little bad about it. And they're like, yeah, got it, understood, we'll check in. And they did after that. So it's fine, it's great. It helped. So sometimes that's why I brought that up because I feel like people don't know how to handle other people who are grieving.
Comes from a bad intention. Also, sometimes it's like people are that they're afraid of making you sad or afraid of, putting you like do something, triggering you, and because they're so unsure about how to make and start that conversation, they just choose to not have a conversation. And if something we're taking away from this episode is also that even if you're feeling uncomfortable, even if you're feeling like you don't know where to start, as long as you have good intentions, as long as you genuinely care about that person, it's okay, check in. Even if you feel resistance, it's okay, maybe give them space, but check in again, make sure they're doing okay, make sure they're not doing uh things that can potentially hurt them, so
A lot of what I told my friends was I am not going to be very good at taking care of myself. If you don't know what to ask me, just check if I'm drinking water and eating food. Can you do that? I'm going to forget about it. So if they had nothing to say, they would literally just text, have you been drinking water? Have you had food? Yes. Okay, great. Going back to my life. Amazing. Great way to check in. And that's what I would just like. I remember when my friend also lost her father that year. For the first, I think, month or so, every few days, I would just be like, hey, I know you're not going to respond to this message. Just wanted to say, I love you. Hope you're okay. Bye. And whenever she managed to see the messages, she responded at her own pace. Like, I see your messages. I don't have the energy. I'm like, I get it. I have the energy though, so I'm trying. It's fine. Whenever you want to hang, let me know. If you don't want to hang, it's fine. I'm texting. I'll keep in touch. Don't worry. And we did meet eventually. We hung out. It's fine. So it makes a huge difference to even just ask, like, just make sure you're drinking water and eating on time. Because those are the first things, like, when all this is happening, people don't know. खाने का ठिकाना नहीं होता. And in a lot of places, like, they chulha jalana allowed nahi hota for a certain number of days in some houses. So just checking and making sure people are eating is like the bare minimum. So yeah.
with everything I know, with all the difficulties in life and like struggling in mental health and due to different things, right? um, we cope differently, and therapy is one tool that we take that can help us, and beyond that there's certain other things that we can do to help ourselves. Like for you it could be, going into the sun for some time. For somebody else it's journaling. Like we should be able to access different tools, one being therapy and then other being different things that work specifically for you. Like, reading for me is like thing that sort of comes, etc. What is it that has worked for you, Sonia, personally, like improving your mental health, or just in general feeling more grounded, right? Like what is that's like for you?
Okay. I used to have a tendency to isolate. So as I've grown older, I force myself to meet a friend, one friend regularly, so that I can just keep myself grounded. Even if that means just going to their house or them coming home and spending time with me, just that helps my mental health. One thing, my therapy, of course, that has kept me sane. Um, genuinely, like, even if nothing, even if I was doing well, sometimes just showing up for therapy helped. Like last session, I told my therapist, I was like, I don't feel like being here today. I don't want to be in the session. But I forced myself because I know whatever this is will make sense at the end of the session. Like even if it's even if it means like it gets a little more tangled, at least I'll understand, oh, this is why. Therapy has helped, meeting my friends regularly has helped. Have having like a few uh people who are anchors, people that I can trust and talk to, um, or even if in some people's case it's one person who's like this is a no filter zone. If the other person's also like ready to listen, just like, okay, I'm feeling like shit, I need to dump. I'm going to call you or I'm going to text you, and that's fine. And a lot of people need that person. For me, it's my best friend, and she and I both have shitty mental health, and both of she's also on the ADHD autism spectrum, and she also is dealing with her own shit. उसके खुद के life में बहुत चल रहा है. But हम लोग बहुत it's like the meme, like it's usually just it's literally two girls telling each other exactly, and both of us are just equally mentally ill. अंधा अंधे को अंधे को मदद कर रहा है, but at the end of the day I know that is a no filter zone. I can be unhinged here and tell you my exact unhinged thoughts, and I can tell you when I'm feeling a certain way without you being like, either preachy about it or getting or like dealing with me like a child, right? I think a lot of people think that responding to, say, suicidal tendencies, the way to respond to that is being like, "Are you okay? You've been talking like that a lot." And I'm like, "No, sometimes I just like making jokes." And my best friend gets that, right? Sometimes I just like making jokes. You got a problem? So there's that. A friend who you get your level of unhinged or your level of mentally unstable, great, talk to them. Um, Journaling unfortunately helps. Eating well unfortunately helps. I hate saying it, but sometimes when you're anxious, working out makes you so tired that you have no choice but to pass out and sleep. So that helps. What I will say though is that those, when you peddle them as the only solution, are not helpful. A lot of people don't have the mental capacity to sit and journal. They don't have mental capacity to eat well and to make good decisions about their nutrition or to make good decisions about their physical health. They are in that state. Okay. But when you do get the help and when you do feel better, try making better decisions about your health and your mental health, because unfortunately a lot of the advice is actually helpful. Eating well has helped me. It is really sad but true. Eating nuts, eating fruits, good for you. Another thing that keeps me grounded is staying off my phone, switching off my notifications. I used to not have notification anxiety till someone pointed it out, and then suddenly I got stressed out about it. So all my notifications, except for urgent ones, are on. Um, are like everything is off. Sorry, only the urgent ones are on. So like your Ola, Uber, phone calls, and Duolingo in my case, because Duolingo is just a great way to keep my brain functioning. Um, that helps. Stay off your phone. Genuinely, go touch grass. It's fine. Go touch grass. Go outside. It's very polluted outside, but I guess just like something. But stay away from your phone for some time. If you don't want to go out, throw your phone in the other room. And like, I got this little word search puzzle on Blinkit. I do puzzles now. I'm a puzzle girly, and I don't even realize कब आधा घंटा निकल जाता है. I've just been doing puzzles, and I've not looked at my phone. I love that. Exactly. If you don't like puzzles, if you don't want to do that, anything, find any activity that it requires so much attention and focus that you have to stay away from your phone. If it means watching a K-drama because you have to read the subtitles, great, do it. Stay off your phone because you're engaging your mind. One thing I used to do was painting nails because, again, that requires so much focus to get the nail paint right that I would, by default, leave my phone behind. And yeah, and of course, listening to music, amazing, great. Make little playlists for yourself. Make little anxiety playlists. Make little like, oh, I'm feeling suicidal. I want to. This is the music I need to listen to. Make little folders for yourself. It's great. Um, and always remember that again, like your brain is lying to you and will keep trying to tell you that do this, and you'll survive. You are better than that. You don't deserve to just survive. You deserve to thrive. You deserve to feel joy. You deserve to feel every feeling, essentially, not just joy. You deserve to feel your feelings. Survival mode will ensure your brain is shut and just functioning like a zombie. But give yourself the space to do that. And a lot of that will happen when you acknowledge your mental health is in shambles. So that I know it's a lot of advice, but this is just like 10 years of advice that I'm kind of summarizing. There's more, but that's very hyper specific. But this is like the general advice that I've seen not just work for myself, but also when I apply it to other people, it helps them too. So now, like as adults, we're begrudgingly like, yeah, maybe eating better and sleeping better is good. Yay!